haven't heard all of them, just go back, go on our website, go on the app, go on YouTube, whatever, Facebook. I don't know how long they last on there, but go back and find the sermons and just listen. Just watch them. You can listen to them while you're driving, and I'll recap those in just a second. But it's very important that we understand the sequence, because this is one thing that we wanted to make sure, and we've done this before, but we really pressed in this time with a little different atmosphere, because we're going to give Jesus first gifts this year. So we're going to look at that in just a second too. So what I wanted you to understand is this: is that we can walk in a curse or we can walk in a blessing. And I don't want you to walk in a curse or to walk outside of a blessing when I'm the one that could tell you. I'm the one that can inform you. And it's like, just because I'm afraid to say something because people are going to say, well, the church talks about money. Well, we don't. Well, not this one. And so it's not about money, it's about blessing. So we're going to finish this today. And it's just simply just showing us, our heart, whether it's generous or not. I just want you to think about this. All of us can think of somebody. We could think somebody in this church sitting right beside us, whether, or somebody that's over there, over here. We know the generous people. We know the people that have generous hearts. And some are extremely generous toward kids. Some are extremely generous toward homeless. Some are extremely generous toward just serving or building a new building or a new playground for the kids. So the thing is it's okay. It's okay, but we have to understand that our heart, it's either going to be a generous heart or it's not going to be a generous heart. And we'll kind of look at that today. But week number 1, we looked at Jesus was first, or Jesus is first. So that's what we established week 1. Number 1, our very first sermon in this series should be that Jesus is first. So Jesus is first. He cannot be second. He's our creator. We didn't create him. He created us. And the first is what redeems the rest. So week number 2, the tithe. We looked at the tithe. That belongs to God. It never is ours to start with. It's never ours. So it's like we need to get this mindset out that we're giving to God, because there's only 2 words associated in the Bible with the tithe, and that's rob and bring. So you can't give what doesn't belong to you. It never was ours. God's allowed us to be good stewards of it. Week number 3, we looked at multiplication. We're good at subtraction and addition. So we look at the checkbook and we subtract what that tithe check out of there. But we don't understand that God's multiplying what we're bringing. So multiplication that's God's, that's His timetable. I mean, that's his literally His way of adding to and taking away and building, because He doesn't work in addition and subtracting like you and I do. God multiplies, and it's just crazy how we can walk in that blessing. But most of us in this country are not walking in that blessing. We're walking in outside of it, and we're wondering why we can't get a breakthrough. And week number 4, we looked at the spirit of mammon, which is the reason why all of this happens, is because the spirit of mammon is where the word money comes from, but it's unjust and it's not fair, because money is not bad. Money is used for all kinds of good, but the word tells us that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So the thing is when we look at the words aren't interchangeable exactly. Mammon was a spirit. It was a Syrian god of riches. So out of Babylon, which Babylon means confusion. And so when we looked at the spirit that is on the money, so automatically we get a self-reliance. I don't need God. I have everything I need. See, as you can see, the one thing in our lives that we can say we don't need anything else is if we have plenty of money. Because I feel like I can buy everything I need. I don't need anything else. I've got everything I need. I don't need God because I'm self-sustained. So it's a spirit of mammon that's very dangerous, and it controls the rest of these mentalities. But today, this is the final sermon in the series, and we're going to look at generosity. But did you know, I just want to make sure you knew this, that Jesus is the only person to have a birthday celebrated. We've been doing this for, thousands of years, couple thousand years. Jesus is the only person to have his birthday celebrated, but yet we don't get him anything. I mean, let's think about that. We don't get Jesus anything. We get everybody else something, but we don't get Jesus anything. So beginning next week, we're going to open an offering, not tithe. That's different. It's God's. We can't. That's His. That's not for us to fool with. But we're going to open an offering, and we're calling it our frankincense offering, because these wise men traveled a long way to bring possessions to Jesus, so it would fund their treks for safety and everywhere they went. This is where the funding came from, by the way. So we'll call it our frankincense offering, and we're going to bring that in. And you know what? You may not have it the first. We're going to leave that extended open for a while, and we may, we want to be praying. Lord, what is it that you want me to sow? What is it that you want me to bring in? What is it that I'm supposed to give? Now, this is an offering that we give. This doesn't have anything to do with the tithe. This is an offering that we give, and we're going to have that open next week. And what are we going to do with that? Well, part of that goes to missions. You say, well, what's the church do with it? Well, part of it goes to missions. Part of it will go to building and expansion. Part of that will go to ministry. So, there's a lot of ministry that has to happen throughout the day, and there's a lot of missions we sow into. We were able to ask you guys, and you guys, you guys, we had some money still came in. You guys brought in $3,500 just out of your heart. We teamed together with a few churches in our community, and we took $16,000 to the help center to feed families. So this time of the year right now is not a good time of the year for SNAP benefits to run out, or because somebody can't agree on what's best for our country. So in other words, it's okay. We'll take care of it best we can. Now, we can't cover every need, but we can cover every need to a certain degree. So we came together. We took $16,000, and that's one of our missions partners, is the Help Center, because they feed people all day, every day. So that's what, that's just, we want to be able to sow into these ministries. So just letting you know that's open. Just pray about that. Pray about that. That will start next week. And we got a brand new sermon series starting next week. I'm really excited about it. I've been kind of laying this out for like a month. I'm like talking with Pastor Amber. She does a lot of the graphics. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And I'm driving her crazy where she's trying to work. But today, the overflow, this is the last sermon. This is week 5. Generosity. It's just simply generosity. And you can't build a legacy outside of generosity. It can't happen. Generosity will always, I want to make sure we understand this, I'll put it on the screen. Generosity will always be vulnerable to attack. And I'm going to lay it out a little differently than what we think. So let's just look at Scripture. Let's look at John chapter 12, verses 1 through 6, and let's just kind of read that. I'm going to read out the ESV, and it's on the screen for you. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus therefore came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So we've got a guy who was once dead hanging out. Who don't want to see that, right? So verse number 2, so they gave a dinner for him there, and Martha served. Gotta love Martha. Let's not throw Martha under the bus. We don't have a gathering without Martha. So let's just make sure that, for those of you who say I'm more servant than I'm worshiper, it's okay. It's okay. So Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at table. In verse 3, Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment made from pure nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. Now, this was worth a lot of money. Probably, somewhere in that neighborhood of $30,000, in that neighborhood of kind of a sizable wage. She had been saving this her whole life, so this is kind of a life savings. Verse 4. But Judas Iscariot, I just love the way that John lays this out. You can tell he didn't like him. So he's like, Judas Iscariot. I'll just read. I'll read it like John saying it. But Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples, who was about to betray him, he said, why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor? He said this because he didn't care about the poor anyway. He was stealing, robbing from us the whole time. So, you kind of look and see it, and he's like, I love the way John kind of lays him out the way he is. So So he's taking from the money bag the whole time, and he's laying everything out. So generosity has a way of being vulnerable to attack. So if we look at this, let's just kind of break it down into key points. Is that cool today or what? Hey, we've been there in a while, right? So key point number 1, generosity is the cornerstone to building legacy. See, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to walk away from what God's called me to, shake hands with you guys, love on you guys, and see you later, have a good life, and everything just falls apart when we're gone. It doesn't do that when we're gone right now, and I don't expect it to do that one of these days when we're not here. But I don't want to build something that's not powerful. I don't want to be a part of what God is building, let's put it this way, and me just not be a part of it or even care what he does. So, I want to make sure that I'm a part of the empowerment that God is. I want God to build a legacy through me, through Tina and I. This is why we work so hard. So let's look at the legacy. Mary and Martha and Lazarus, they'll always be remembered. I mean, think about it. We're over 2,000 years removed from this incident, and we're still talking about them. They will forever be remembered. Martha is going to be remembered. Her legacy is her hospitality. So Martha's legacies are hospitality, and it's okay. Because I think my wife, Tina, got a little bit bothered a few times. She's like, well, I kind of feel like sometimes I'm a little too much Martha. It's okay. Because without Martha, we don't have a gathering. Lazarus could say, hey, everybody over at my house, hey, we're going to hang out at my house. We're going to watch, reruns, and we're going to hang out and talk to Jesus, and we're going to drink coffee. But that's all good, well and good. Without Martha, it doesn't get done. So Martha's forever going to be remembered for her hospitality, and the legacy that she set forth is hospitality. Lazarus is always going to be remembered, and his legacy is he was resurrected. There's not too many people that got to die and then later on got to die again. There's not too many people that's ever lived that get to do this twice. So he's an anomaly. He's a unicorn. I mean, everybody wants to see him. Mary's always going to be remembered. Her legacy is always going to be that she came and she worshiped. I mean, think about this. She's probably the sister that doesn't get a lot of attention. She's the sister that's the more emotional one. She's the sister that they have to kind of help constantly. Martha, when Lazarus has been pronounced dead, Martha's kind of holding it together because Mary's, her plane's crashing. And so Lazarus is gone. And so Martha's trying to be the stable one of the two that's left out of the three, and Mary's losing it. I mean, it's going south in a hurry. So Mary is more. I mean, she's younger. She's more. I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe she's younger. Maybe she hasn't had a lot. She's patient with her. So Mary did something that probably was like, oh gosh, here she goes again. She comes in, she crashes this dude party, and she comes in and she begins to start pouring everything she had on Jesus. She's giving her everything. Generosity was displayed right here. Here is generosity being played out 100%. We get to see her heart. We get to see what it looks like. Everybody else in that room had a different opinion. She didn't care. Everything she owned was poured out before Jesus. I just want to look at Mark's version of this same account in chapter 14, verse 3. There's one little added theme in there, and that is she broke the alabaster. Now, I just want... I've often thought about this. I just want to digress for just a second. She broke the alabaster. Okay. It like an egg. I mean, surely she didn't do that on Jesus. I'm trying to figure out how she broke it, but yet didn't spill it all on the floor. So, I guess what she did is she broke the lid off or something like that. She broke the neck of it off. But here's the thing. She broke it. Do you realize what you do when you break something? That means you can't use that vessel anymore. That vessel is completely useless. In other words, it's complete. So what she did is she came, she broke the container that contained the alabaster that contained the ointment, and the act of breaking was it was showing completeness. It was showing irreversibility. In other words, I'm not going to go. It would be easy to say, I'm giving everything to Jesus. I'm giving everything to Jesus. How many times have you seen somebody say, right there's my pack of cigarettes, man, I'm giving it all away. I'm giving it up to Jesus. Man, here's my cigarettes. I'm just praying, Lord, I need you to take them away from me. Lord, thank you, Lord. Put them in my back pocket on the way back out in case I want them. You know what? We didn't break our alabaster right here. We poured a little out, and just in case we need any for anybody else. I need to, I may need to pour this out. Lord, I'm going to give you every bit of my money until the money comes in. Lord, I'm going to lot this. I'm going to put this in my account and some of it back in yours. See, we're real good about saying what we will do until it comes time to do it. So she broke this, symbolizing there's no reserve. I'm not going back. It's complete. It's over. Here's everything I'm pouring out before the Lord, and I'm not going back. It's irreversible. She gave her best, and she gave her her first. So Jesus, we see the heart of generosity, the legacy of generosity that she's building, and she doesn't even know this is what she's doing. She didn't even save some back for later. In other words, I'm going to pour about 60% of it. I'm going to pour, 60% of it is the majority. Think about this. If I give the majority of it to the Lord, He's going to bless me like crazy. I gave Him the majority of it. I gave Him 60% of it. I held back 40. So she gives, but she didn't say that. She didn't say, you know what, just in case, I think I'm going to do something different. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give Jesus about 60% of this, and I'm going to pour any more of this. You know what, it's anointed. It's been at the feet of Jesus. Whoever I pour this on, they're just going to get saved. Everybody's going to get saved and healed. All I got to do is just sprinkle them as I go down the street, man. They're just going to, I could do good with this stuff. I could hold this back. You know what, people will come and pay good money for this. I can put this into the treasury. She didn't hold anything back. See, she didn't even think, you know what? Here's my brother. Man, literally, he's a walking, talking, once dead, yet now living and breathing miracle. She didn't pour out any on him. See, sometimes we would think he deserves attention. People were coming from everywhere to see him anyway. Why should I not give him attention? You know what? Maybe she was wanting to say, stop looking at what Jesus can do for you and start looking at what you could do for Jesus. How many people peering through those windows didn't get to see? All they want to do is they want to see this guy who was dead. The Word tells us they're there to see Him as much as our Jesus. And she breaks through and she says, look, I need all y'all to move out of the way because I'm going to show you why we're really here. Sometimes maybe it's okay to let somebody show us why we're really here. So there's always someone deserving of attention. There's always, boy, the Lord moved on so-and-so, man alive, and I've watched them grow in the grace and knowledge of the Lord. There's always somebody that's deserving of attention. There's a so-and-so over here, God's healed them. I've watched them walk in it. I've watched them testify to God's healing in their life. They're deserving for us to bring the Lord up in that situation. But there's always room for Jesus. There's always, Jesus, there's that one, but Jesus has to be the only one. So what's He worth? Just want to ask that question. Let's just kind of jump on into key point number 2. Generosity will be attacked. It's going to happen. Should just put quotation marks around will. It will be attacked. Here's I'm going to tell you, and it's not like you think. In that room that day, let's imagine in Lazarus' house, let's imagine what's going on in here. Let's get the mindset. In this room, every emotion and every personality in us is represented in this room. Now let's think about this a minute. We feel like when we put this on the screen, we feel like that, somebody's going to attack my generosity. Somebody's going to attack my heart of generosity and make me want to dial it back. No, it's probably going to come from within. There was more attack inside the house than there was on the outside. So let's just kind of scan the room that day, and let's just kind of look. Every emotion and every personality is represented right here. See, one part of us wants to give. Yeah, we want to give. One part of us wants to give, but the other part of us wants to worship. Okay, so they go hand in hand. I can give and I can worship. I can be extravagant before the Lord. That is okay. Here's what part of me says I want to do, but another voice tells me I can't afford that. You can't afford to do what's on your heart to do. See, we're looking at the mentality that was in the room that day. And I promise you, God wants to make sure that we understand the mentalities inside here as well. You know what? I want to worship, but I don't feel like we can afford this. Hey, part of me says, yes, I want to press in, but I don't really have time right now. Man, that's a good one right there. I want to press in, but right now I just don't have the time. Well, the Lord knows how busy I am. I don't have time to press in right now. You know what? But I do want to press in. Man, do I ever. But just not right now. See, it's kind of like, what excuse do we have? What excuse do we have? You know what? I want to talk to you about the Lord. I want to ask you your heart for the Lord. What's on your heart? What's on your mind? You know what? Well, I don't have time to talk about that right now. Well, are you about to go into labor? No. Well, then we have time to talk about it. Because if you're about to go into labor, I'll put it on hold. If they're about to move your appendix, I'll wait till you're finished. But unless something like that's happening, I think we can press in. You have time, I promise you. Nothing's more important than pressing in with the Lord. But what about this? You know what? Not that I'm also too busy, but hey, part of me has been changed drastically. We got a guy, Lazarus, sitting here. His life's been changed. Flipped upside down dramatically. You know what? By Jesus. And do I appreciate what Jesus has done enough to risk my life, my reputation, to make sure that I'm in proximity with him? See, the thing is I think sometimes we're a little too afraid that if we press too close to Jesus, if we sit too close to him, that we're going to get a little bit of a label, and a lot of people don't realize. The thing is your excitement, your passion for the Lord is always going to cause somebody else's conviction level to go high. Going to make their Agent Orange act up. So the thing is so when we look at this, part of us wants to press in, part of us wants to worship, part of us wants to give, but part of us says, I don't think we can afford that. Part of us says, you know what, I don't have the time to, I can't afford it. Part of us says, hey, listen, I just want to invite. I'll take the risk. Do you realize by inviting Jesus into his home, he was placing himself on the most wanted list? Jerusalem's most wanted, now Lazarus is on it. Now, I just got to say this much. When you've been dead for 4 days and God's raised you from the dead and you're set and somebody threatens you, you just laugh at them. What? You gonna kill me? Okay. I've done that, been there, done that. I'm having a t-shirt made right now. It's okay. See, there's also that emotion. There's a big part of us that wants to hear from Jesus, but also, in the meantime, there's a big part of us that doesn't want to be changed by Jesus. See, we've got people standing in there, and trust me, it's all right here. I want to hear from Jesus. I want that word. But well, wait a minute. Well, now we're getting too close. Now you're wanting me to change, Lord. And I'm not crazy about that. I thought I was here to make sure everybody else was changing. I brought my mama and I brought my daddy because they need to change. I didn't know you wanted me to change. I don't know. I ain't coming back here. So part of us, we want to be near Jesus because of what we can get from him rather than what we can give to him. How many people's crowded in that room, looking through those windows, standing outside because they can get something from Jesus instead of what I can give to Jesus? There was one person in that room that I can pretty well think of that had one focus in mind to give to him and was generous before him, and that was Mary. Now, I will argue that Martha was giving as well. But there's one here that we want to key in on, and she was giving everything. She wasn't there to look at what she could get from Jesus. See, is there a part of us that says, or a voice inside of us that says, you know what, I'm going to complain about what we have to do for Jesus because of just him being, you know what, I'm just complaining. I'm complaining that I have to load the trailer to feed families on Thanksgiving. I'm complaining because I have to set up chairs. I'm complaining because I have to cook. Have to cook meals. Tina and I cooked 3 times, 4 times, and you know, not the whole meal, but it's like, you know, stick some more dressing in there. We're going to need that. Stick some more dressing in there. You know what? If I complained about it, it's like, my gosh, I got to stick that in there. Now I don't know. Now I can't even get my own food because I got to feed these homeless people. What kind of reward emotionally am I going to get from that? Because I'm just freaking out and fussing because somebody has a need? You know, there's a guy yesterday we talked to, drove all the way down from Wisconsin or Michigan. And he's lost. He's by himself. He's alone. He's crying. You know, it's like, listen, thank God you're here. Dennis was over there with him, and Dennis just kept telling him, I'm telling you, you got a car, get right down on the square, that's where we'll be. You know, I just got to digress just a second. Y'all got to get used to saying something else other than on the square in Sparta. It's going to be hard, I'm telling you. Tina and I were talking about it yesterday. You know, how do we tell people where we're going to be? Hey, if you go up to the Huddle House, you turn. I mean, it's Mahan Road. I mean, that's going to be hard. We got to make a great big sign. That's exactly what. But you know what? This is what I say. There's one God that he says, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all mankind to myself. I just think that that's probably the biggest thing we need to do is just make sure that we lift him up. So, you know, going along in this room that day, you know, is there part of us complaining? Because Martha had a little bit of a complaint, you know, issue there for a little bit. Why am I having to do all the work and she's not helping me? You know, so maybe we have a little complaint there that wants to dial back our level of giving. Is there a part of us that says, I'll worship him even if it costs me everything I have? I mean, I'm going to hold nothing back. Maybe there's a part of us that says, you know what? I would worship, but I don't think I'm not good enough. I don't think I'm accepted. I think maybe I'm too young. I think maybe I'm the wrong gender. Maybe I'm not educated enough. You know what? We can start disqualifying ourselves out of what God is clearly wanting to qualify us into. We could start that real quickly. We could start disqualifying ourselves because you know what? All of a sudden, I don't feel like I fit in. I don't feel like, I feel like I'm the odd man out. Well, I'm the one that everybody's circling around and praying. I'm the one that's crying. I'm the one that doesn't have anything. It's, you know what? None of us have a whole lot. I can promise you, I don't care if you've got money or you don't have money. If we don't have Jesus, we don't have anything. So, Mary came into a room and filled with men and made every man in there look like a school student, an elementary school student. I mean, all these guys are there because they want to be in proximity to Jesus. There's nothing wrong with that. But somewhere inside of us, something has to say, I've got to press out and I've got to give more to Jesus. I've got to give him more than I've ever given him. Because when the mentality of that room is right here in my heart, then I've got to realize the Mary inside has to come out. The Mary, she has to take the lead. And I don't care how many religious leaders were there that day. The one that's remembered is this girl right here. So, Judas, gotta love this guy. Judas, speaking of being under attack, Judas immediately goes into attack mode. Why does Judas go into attack mode? Well, it's simple. Because every time you don't understand something or I don't understand something, every time you and I are uncomfortable with something, then we will automatically attack it. That's just what we do. We don't even take the time to investigate it or to research it. We just attack it because now you're making me feel uncomfortable. So Judas goes into attack mode and he makes up a story that's not even true. Where he look, you know, I'm going to pretend like I care about hurting people. I really don't care about hurting people. I just don't like what she's doing because what she's doing is making me uncomfortable. I mean, you kind of get it there. You know, so how many times do I back up on what I feel like God's calling me to do because the part in me that wants to do is going to make the other part in me feel uncomfortable? I mean, I think we need to be very, very careful. I think we need to realize that, hey, it's okay. It's okay to let Mary do what she wants. You know, Mary was not the right gender to crash a man cave dude party. Just wouldn't, you know, she wasn't. What she did is taught, preached, and revered even today. But it wasn't the culture of that day. We're still talking about her, but it wasn't the culture of that day. So, one last tidbit of information here where we're concerned. Martha, on key point number 2, Martha. Martha was so focused on what she had to do that she lost focus of what she should do. See, sometimes we're so focused on what we have to do that we lose track of what we're supposed to do, what we should be doing. Yesterday is a good example. Thursday night is a good example. We could be so focused on feeding that maybe we're not ministering. I love what we're doing, and I didn't see any complaints, and I'm not fussing or anything. And what I did see is I saw people praying with people. I saw people making sure that was the most important thing. So sometimes we can get so focused on preparing the meal that we don't focus on the worship of the one who's supposed to be the one we're preparing for. Sometimes we can get so focused on Jesus' birth that we celebrate his birthday, but yet we don't get him anything. So that's why we're going to start next week. Key point number 3, legacy. The legacy that we leave without education, it's going to be forgotten. It's going to be forgotten. So Tina and I sat in the hospital a few weeks back, and we walked in, and there's this big, huge bronze statue of this doctor. And he either left a lot of money or did a lot of, was a doctor there. However, he's left a legacy. And his heart of generosity is still there to educate and to bring people to knowledge. Maybe he gave a lot of money to a department where people could literally be healed from that research. If we fail to educate the next generation as to why we leave a legacy, then they're not going to appreciate the legacy, and they'll tear down the legacy. So why should you and I give if we don't educate everybody around us as to why we're giving? That's why we've done these sermon series this whole month. This is why we chose the month of November, so we could enter into December with a heart of frankincense going into December. See, Judas didn't have that heart of generosity that Mary did. He was intimidated by her extravagance toward Jesus, and it bothered him so much so that he tried to tear it down. I'm going to tear down the legacy of generosity that she is building. And he didn't do a good job because it didn't happen. We have to educate those with us and around us of the proper importance of our generous heart, of the generosity. We can't build legacy without generosity. It's just not going to happen. You can't build a legacy without generosity. You can't just say, I'm going to sit back and get and watch it build. No, we've got to give in order to watch it build. We need to stop tearing down what we don't understand or what we don't appreciate. If we tear down and discredit or minimize what Mary did by Jesus or for Jesus by pouring out her life savings on him, if we fail to educate the enormity of her offering, we're going to lose the heart of generosity. So, if we understand that legacy is built on a foundation of generosity, we'll give eagerly. So I just want to show you something. I want to show you a monument of a guy. His name's Terry Fox. Now, Terry Fox was a high school student in the 70s. He was an athlete, distance runner, and he lived in Canada, by the way. So in 1977, he developed an aggressive type of bone cancer in his right knee. Well, his leg, immediately, this thing's got to go. So immediately his entire right leg was amputated above the knee. And then he entered into a series of treatments So he had never done anything like this. He'd never been into hospitals. He'd never been into treatment centers. And he watched, as he was in these treatment centers, he watched young kids die. He watched families crying. He watched it over and over and over. And as he processed out of there, he realized that I can't get this out of my mind. He was overwhelmed by what he saw. What he saw moved him to a heart of generosity. And he said, I've got to do something. So what Mary witnessed that day changed her life forever. What she did that day changed her life forever. What we do in this life can build up or tear down. What we do for Jesus can either build up or we can tear it down. So Terry Fox, despite having only one leg, he later became a 3-time wheelchair basketball national champion player. So he played on a team that they won 3 national championships from wheelchairs. And he just decided, I got to do something different. He began to start training in secret. And for 14 months, he trained in secret because he didn't want anybody seeing him. He didn't want anybody talking him out of it. Sometimes you and I do things secretly because we don't want somebody talking us out of it. So Terry set out in 1980 to run a marathon from one end of Canada to the other, from ocean to ocean. It's like way bigger than the United States, by the way. And so in 1980, he dipped his crude prosthetic, and they're not any, it was nothing like it is today. So in other words, we have really good prosthetics compared to what he had. So Terry dipped his crude prosthetic leg in the Atlantic and set out the length of Canada to run that one leg at a time. He only has one. You can't invent a leg. It's just a wooden thing. So his initial goal was to raise $1 million for cancer research. I'm going to raise $1 million for cancer research, and nobody paid much attention. And he began to start skip, clank, skip, clank, skip. He ran the equivalent of a marathon every single day for 143 days with one leg. I mean, think about this. 143 days in a row with one leg. And this other one continued to get raw and had to be continually doctored and gauze and everything else. 143 days in a row. Basically hopping on one leg. And we may have that one up there, yeah. Terry was asked why he attempted such a task. See, as he began to start doing this, people started noticing. Do you realize that you and I want to make an impact right now? But do you realize that if we would just continue to walk with the Lord, then people will notice? And as he continued to walk and run, and he would run part of the marathon in the morning, he would rest in the day, midday, and he'd run he ran basically 12 miles and 14 miles every day. In the morning, 12 miles, 14. In the morning, 12 miles, 14. And he didn't stop. He didn't take a break. Terry was asked, why are you doing this? He said, the people in cancer clinics all over the world need people who believe in miracles because they don't have any hope right now. I'm not a dreamer. I'm not saying that this will initiate any kind of definitive answer or a cure for cancer. But I believe in miracles because I have to. This is what he said. At first, only a few dollars began to start coming in. People just, hey, here's a dollar, this and that. I think maybe a few $100s came in. But then it began to start catching rhythm, and they began to start realizing we're going to meet this goal way before we get across this country. And then Terry began to start saying, okay, now it's time to up the goal. See, sometimes we have to up the vision. The dream has to be increased. You know, this dream got us out of the gate. It got my leg, my prosthetic dipped into the ocean. But now, in order for me to get to the Pacific, then this dream has to be bigger. He said, $24 million, $1 for every person that lives in Canada. Why not? And then corporations begin to start noticing. And one guy owned some kind of major corporation. His son had died of cancer, and he's like, I'm giving, and I'm getting on board, and we're going to get this publicized. And at the 3,339-mile mark, this is 3,300 miles, by the way. 3,339 miles, by the way. Terry was forced to stop. He had to stop because he became sick, and he was coughing, he was laboring to breathe. And after being rushed to the hospital, the diagnosis was pretty grim because his cancer had come back into his lungs. A few months later, Terry died, but his legacy didn't die. The Terry Fox Memorial Race by some of these corporations, we're not going to let what this young man started die. They began to start, every year we're going to have a Terry Fox Memorial Race to raise funds for cancer. He even was offered money and sponsorships for himself, and he said, nothing will go to me. Not one thing. It all goes to cancer research, or you're not giving it. And so they began to start having a race every year to raise funds for cancer research. It's now an international event, still to this day, held all over the world, and almost $1 billion has been raised for cancer research. Almost $1 billion. That's a lot. People's lives have been changed because of one young man's vision. One young man that really didn't even get to see it even get started. But what he did made a difference. The cancer that Terry had, it has now a survival rate of over 80% because of the research kids aren't dying anymore because of it. People are living and they're not dying. Terry is a Canadian national hero. We don't know because we're not Canadian, eh? But see, he's a national. They talk about him everywhere. There's a sign on the highway that says this is where he stopped. There's monuments. This is him. We want to make sure that people know who this guy is. His generosity founded one of the greatest cancer research fundings in the world. If we destroy his monument, we're going to destroy his legacy, and we're going to forget, the generations that are going to come after us are going to forget why that's even there. We have to educate why do we do what we do? Why are we in an overflow series? Because we want you to know, and we want you to remember next month, we want you to remember in June that, look, don't live under a curse. The tithe is not yours, it's God's. And we want you to walk in blessing, not cursing. And we want you to be excited about your relationship with the Lord. We want this church is going to have a heart of generosity. And we're going to give. And we've been doing that. And you know what? We give to this scale, and our friends' churches that have 10 times the money that we do, they give to this scale. It's okay, it's the same. Because we gave everything we had in some instances. But there's a spirit of mammon that wants to steal. Our worship team can come on, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't cue you up. I got a little preoccupied not having my street corn. There's a spirit of mammon that wants to steal our blessing and keep us under a curse. This spirit is not a God-first spirit. It doesn't multiply. It wants and convinces that subtraction always leaves us with less. It doesn't care about others. It focuses on getting rather than giving. And it convinces us that we can't afford to be generous. This is what that spirit of mammon will do. And if we listen to it, it will sever the legacy that God wants to build through us. If we pay attention to that voice, because remember in that room was probably some voices saying, I don't know why we're doing this. This money could have been sold. This money could have been put somewhere else. In other words, you're making me nervous. Why are we giving everything away? I'll put this one on the screen. This will be the last thing. What you do will positively impact others, but what you don't do can negatively impact even more. If I will press in with the Lord, it will impact people. But if I don't press in with the Lord and I reject Him, how many are going to be affected negatively because of it? So I want you to stand with me, please. And I want us to understand where we are, and we're about to go into the most giving and getting season that we will experience all year long. We're about to go into Christmas. It starts, we were talking the other night, me and Tina and Brian Kinsey coming back from Smithville. we were like, Christmas starts like now. I mean, the minute that you wash that Thanksgiving plate, Christmas starts. So Christmas starts right now. And all we can think about is decorating and what we're getting and what we're giving and how much money we don't have. All we can think about is this. This is the mentality that we have in America. Not necessarily the church, but in America. So as we move into this season, let's move into this season with a giving mentality rather than a getting mentality. Let's move into it with a Jesus mentality rather than a commercial mentality. I mean, it's hard to even watch a ball game all the way through October because all you see is Christmas commercials. It's like, can y'all give us a break with the Christmas commercials? It doesn't officially start until the plates wash, y'all. So I don't know why you're doing it so soon. So, because we're all competing for that $1 that somebody might spend here, but we want them to spend it here. Let's all go out with the mentality that we're competing to be able to give because somebody's heart is going to be won because of that. What can I do to make a difference? I can promise you, number one, you could go out and buy me a nice gift. It's not going to make me look any better than what I look right now. I told you this last week. I mean, hey, it is what it is. You can only work what you have to work with. But the thing is what's wrong with going out and saying, hey, you know what, kids, I got you guys this little gift, but this is what I made a donation to this mission in your name. We fed these families in your name. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? Wouldn't that be pretty cool? So I want to invite you. I mean, number one is you may not know Jesus as your Lord and Savior. You may not have that relationship with Him. You may be at a place where I just don't know if I know Him in that way. If you don't, then wow, today's where it starts. Right now is where it starts. We don't have to wait until we're serving people in a line in order to pray with them. I can promise you, in those places we went, they're there this evening if you want to go back. You know what? There's somebody right here right now that's saying, you know what, I don't know the Lord. Well, you're here on purpose. God doesn't accidentally drop you in. Oh, by the way, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize you were going to be here at church today. He knows what He's doing. He puts you here on purpose, for a purpose. So I want you to know that today is a good day to give your heart to the Lord. Today's the day of salvation. So I want to invite you to come. We're going to sing, and I want to invite you to come. But before we do, I'm going to ask you to pray this prayer with me and pray it out loud. And I'm going to ask you to pray this prayer, and it says, I'm inviting you into my heart, Lord, to be my Lord and Savior. I don't really understand a lot about this whole giving and generosity and mammon, but it's okay. We'll grow in that. But right now, the biggest giving has to be of your heart. If you don't give your heart, then nothing will work. God's not interested in your wallet. He's interested in your heart. So I want you to give your heart to the Lord like I gave my heart to the Lord. I mean, I want you to do that. So I want you to give your heart to the Lord today, and I want to ask you to let Him into your life to be your Lord and Savior. And you know what? The rest of this stuff starts working out. The more we walk with Him, the rest of it starts working out. So with your heads bowed and your eyes closed, I'm going to lead you in a prayer, and I want you to pray it out loud with me. If you don't care, I appreciate it. And everybody's going to help you pray this out loud. Would you do it with me right now and pray this way? Dear Jesus, I know who I am. I know who you are. I want to know you more. So I'm asking you into my heart to forgive me of my sins. I invite you to be my Lord and Savior. I repent of my sins. Please forgive me of my sins. I'm confessing them before you. I believe in my heart, and I'm confessing with my mouth, and I am the whosoever that is called on the name of the Lord. In your name I pray. with your heads bowed and your eyes closed, did you ask the Lord into your heart? Raise your hand and let's see if you did. Because I want you to know what's next is important. It's important. This is the most important decision you'll make. But the next decision is really equally as important, because now I got to walk with Him. We need to abandon this mentality that we get saved and have a good life. We need to make sure that I understand that if I give my heart to the Lord, I got to start walking with Him. I need to start cultivating this relationship. So now I want to ask you, what's been on your heart? Where's the battle been? Because there's like a war zone right here, we call it. You can come and pray. There's some areas over here you can pray privately. But I want to invite you to come. I want to invite you to pray and seek the Lord. I want to invite you to spend some time in prayer. Let somebody come around you. Let somebody help you. Let somebody pray with you. So I invite you to come. And you just may be thinking right now, I don't know how to be a Mary. I only know how to be a Martha. I don't know how. Right now I'm being a good Judas. But we can all press in, and we can let Mary come to the surface real fast. So we just need somebody to help us pray there. So I invite you to come. Come on, sing with us, pray with us, lift the Lord up. I just invite you to come.